Hey guys, thanks so much for joining. I'm Jo Peterson. I'm the Vice President of Cloud and Security for Clarify 360 and the Chief Analyst at ClearTech Research. And you're here today with ClearTech Loop. We're on the move and in the know. And I'm here with Parrish Gunnels, the CISO of MBV Financial. Hi, Parrish.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining. Guys, in case you're new to the podcast, it's a hot take approach to podcasting, and we're focused on cybersecurity, cloud security, and AI security. And in each weekly episode, we ask our guests 3 focused questions to quickly educate our listeners about the security landscape, both from a risk and opportunity standpoint. Our soundbite approach is meant to act as of the moment look at business and technical conversations that are happening right now with people like Parrish. So, Parrish, you've been in security for an awful lot of years, and I see that many of your roles have been in financial institutions and financial service organizations. Um,
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do during your day as the CISO at MBB.
So every day is a little bit different, but for the most part, there's typically, working on the business side, right? Understanding what it is they're trying to do or solve, looking at services and solutions and trying to evaluate, what's the best way for us to handle a certain process as securely as possible. Sometimes there's incidents and events from monitoring and submissions from employees that sometimes require my perspective on, do we have something here that we need to report or not? And then there's also just policy, right? Just maintaining, what our requirements are and the things that we need to meet from a regulatory perspective and what's changing in the environment. And then I'd say the last thing is sort of threat intel, right? Both from a technical perspective on, what's coming out, what's happening that we need to worry about from our network and our systems in order to protect them, but also from executives, like what they've heard on the street and what's our opinion on what's happening in the environment and how that's going to affect the organization that we're at.
So, first of all, that's great that your executives are engaged.
Mhm.
And second, I don't know, it's a coin toss for me, but it feels like finance has more regulatory considerations than maybe even healthcare. You guys duke it out.
Yeah.
Who's a tougher environment to cover?
Yeah, I don't know. I think health would be, but that's just me.
Okay. Well, that's because you're a finance veteran. You've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, probably.
Kind of got it down. So let's just dig into the questions. The first one
Okay.
is from a CISO's perspective. How should you be thinking about cyber risk in terms of dollars and business impact?
Yeah, so I still don't think that there's a great model for return on investment for security, right? We continue to try and do that, but I haven't seen a great model that works. I sort of think of it as, both downtime, meaning, reputational risk and cost to the organization, in terms of, if we're not able to generate or take in revenue or sell our services, that's potential loss, and how long can that time period expand before we get things up and running, right? That in order for us to get our services and products back online. The other piece being in financial services, right, is always the cost of fines, right, and potential lawsuits, right? So there's FDIC and OCC and PCI and all these other regulatory bodies that you have to worry about, and what their potential fines could be per record. So there is some calculations that can be made on that front in regards to just how much you think you could be fined, or what the averages are occurring. And then I think the third element to it in my mind is just payments for, like, if you do have an incident, right? It's payments for forensics, recovery, other incident related expenses that you're going to incur in order to shift through the data that may have been compromised, to shift through your network to find out if there's any other holes you need to plug. Not to mention all the marketing and communications and those sorts of aspects of an incident that you're going to have to pay to so that the outside world knows that you're taking care of everything and you're taking care of your clients and those sorts of things.
And you make a really good point, because security is so integral to the business. And I feel like consumers, and we're all consumers, are savvier today than we used to be. So there's that reputational sort of damage that can occur. And
Hmm.
there's all the cost associated to making sure that you're transparent with your stakeholders, right? So,
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
yeah. And you sort of answered the second question in the first one.
A
So
little bit.
that was great. Thank you for that. Um, I don't know what a podcast would be without mentioning the word AI today.
Yeah.
So there wouldn't be one, I don't think. So as I think of AI, and I'm not sure how you think of it, but I think in with the security vendors, everybody's baking AI into their products. So
Mhm.
there's that aspect of things. And then there's the other side of AI, which, of course, from a security standpoint, I see it as organizational governance.
Hmm.
As you look at it and you're thinking about it in terms of adoption, what are your peer groups talking about in terms of both sides of that equation?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think in financial services, when it all exploded, I think everyone had sort of the same knee jerk reaction of like we're just going to kind of shut this off and lock it down because we don't really know what it means, right? Which is fine, but I happen to be working for an organization that is leaning a lot more tech forward than some, and so we're starting to come to the realization that we're going to use AI, right? Because for us it's going to be a growth factor for us. So if we can leverage it in a way to help with back office processes, onboarding processes, sort of those things that would allow us to be able to grow and also not necessarily add headcount because of that growth. Those are big wins for us from a revenue perspective. So in my organization and my line of thinking now, I'm trying to further educate myself, understand that market and understand exactly where that industry and that technology is going. And I think that it is here, right? So I think it's better to grasp it and understand it and figure out how to best use it, and to become kind of the guiding person on how best to use it with your employees is going to be better than not. Um, I think I think of AI in a couple of different ways, right? So there's AI built into security, right, and
Mhm.
how that's going to be done. So I think that's one use case or business case where I have to think about, well, that service and tool, how is that model being used to help me be better and help me to protect our environment, right? What makes you different from another vendor that may be using some other model, and then how is that data of mine being used within that AI component or that service, right? So there's that aspect of it. And then I think there's the business side of things, right? So the business wants to use AI to automate processes or to come up with things that are more efficient or better. So then it's more of like understanding the solutions around that and what is that use case? What data is going to be used? Are we going to license our own model? How is that going to be used, and the standards that we need to put and the data governance that we need to put around a lot of that. um, I also feel like there's an educational component to it, right? So we need to educate. It's part of almost user awareness and training, right? So how best to use an AI model, whether it's Chat GPT or some other service that's out there online. If we open that up, here are the parameters or the guardrails that we want to use and tell our employees this is where you need to stay, right? And this is how to get more efficient with it and you use it in the proper way. I think there still needs to be also education on there still needs to be a human involved, right? You still need to look at the results, validate those results. Don't take them for just to me right now. I think where AI industry overall is right is this is helping us become more efficient,
Mhm.
um, help us maybe generate a couple other different ideas and ways to look at things, or to consolidate and come up with something, to find the trends and the correlations. But I also think it's not a place to necessarily start, right? So,
Mhm.
and what I mean by that, I still think humans have the ability to come up with new ideas and new things and ways, but you can use AI to help enhance a lot of that. So that's kind of my overview point.
I think that's forward, right? And you made such a good point about, education, because you can put all the AI in place that you want to. If employees aren't utilizing it, then you're not getting any further with it, right?
Yeah.
And you help them to utilize it. You don't sort of steer them in a direction and do things like put guardrails around it. So it takes a village, I think, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys are talking about it or on the path, and that there's support internally for it, which is super important.
Yeah, and I think that's where it starts, right? I mean, so some of that is right having the support, but also working with the people that are supporting it so that they also understand, like, look, some of what's being written out there is a little bit of hype, right? We're not, it's, the industry's not quite there yet. It's not, but this is still it's still something that has to be programmed, right? There's some differences to it, but there's still a lot of development, a lot of research that need to be brought into it also. So,
yeah. Well, thank you for taking time and sharing your thinking with us. Good luck on your AI journey. It sounds like you're off to a good start. And guys, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.